Most of my memories are staff and volunteers, really. Some of them have been so awesome. A lot of them, unfortunately, because of the age of the volunteers, a lot of them have gone to that great big museum in the sky, and they're probably not working up there, lazy buggers.
Well, Auckland is the city of sails. Our nation was built by people who steamed and sailed their way to New Zealand. This is a tribute, a celebration of who we are, where we've come from, and where we're going to go.
Well, I guess the museum has so many different aspects of it, but I guess the beginnings of it, we were wondering whether it was ever going to happen.
Clearly, this is the most important day in the history of the Auckland Maritime Museum thus far, for it is today that we officially receive the site.
When I first came to the museum, it was sort of self-funding. We used to donate a lot of our tools and things like that, and there was a lot of voluntary stuff handed over.
Back in those days, the poor old museum was in a dire strait. It had no money, and it was struggled from day to day. Like lights were always blowing, and we couldn't afford to get them fixed. And
it felt a lot like a group of guys who were really interested in bits of boats. So Richard's office was things that came off boats, little stored in the corner, and you'd sort of think, well, what's that? And why isn't it on the boat?
Last week, a brand new museum opened in Auckland. It's a maritime museum, and the event was an exciting one at Hobson Wharf.
As you say, it was a big occasion, and so many people here, so many things going on. It was, as I say, the start of something grand down here. Rodney's ambitions were grandiose, of course, and I think without him there wouldn't have been a museum.
It's not very often that you get a chance to start a brand new museum, especially one of the scale of this, and it's certainly not very often that you get the opportunity to have a vision about your people and about the place you live and realise that.
The museum has never been static. The displays and the exhibitions have reflected the interest of the public. They've never been static. They've always developed and moved and reflected whatever is in the public interest at the time. The America's Cup, of course, is a prime example of this.
And then, of course, they brought in NZL 32, which came in early in the morning.
It was an event and a half. We wondered whether it was all going to happen because it was a big operation.
Because it had to come in a very narrow space. The end of the gallery was open at the time. That was long before the thing was fully completed. So they had to get it in very, very slowly. You know, there were people like saying, okay, there's 6 inches this side and 2 inches this side. So,
but to see it come through here was really quite something. And what a day that was. It was mighty, you know.
I happened to be on duty that day, and I was on the upstairs gallery, the upper gallery, at the time of the opening. And I was very impressed with that. Everything fell into place just as Sir Peter Blake would have liked it to do. There was no obvious organisation, but everything went smoothly, nothing went wrong. That was a really good memory, which I refer to from time to time in my talks when I'm down there.
One of my special moments, it's a bit self-serving, but the education centre, as it is now, it's gone from the dark hole to the multicoloured hole to the learning centre that it is. That was really cool.
what I noticed too is kids come around the museum with the school groups, and then the following weekend the same kids, you recognise the kids, and they'll come and they've talked their mum and dad into coming down and having a look, and they're like little tour guides running around showing their mum and dad everything, which is always good, and always good. At least you guys have got a decent tour guide and you can relate to.
You know, I couldn't go through, there's so many people who've all had their influence. I shouldn't forget Marlene, of course, who had started about 6 months before me. She was a good friend too, and she could be, you know, a fairly controversial character, She had very strong opinions, but it all came from a good place in her heart. She was very good-hearted.
Well, look, I think really the volunteers, the staff and the visitors are what bring this museum alive. I think the heart of any museum is the collection, but it's our ability for the staff and volunteers to interact with our visitors around those stories which makes the museum a vibrant and living place.
You know, the museum it does so much for so many people. I think though, but what she tells, the story she tells, and the impact that she's had on people's lives. You go to, you know, you farewell any of the volunteers in their most final moments, and you actually sit in that church or in that service, and at that moment you realise the impact that the museum had on their lives, and it's sobering.
I'm a firm believer in the concept of job satisfaction, and the museum has provided this very generously. The mutual support among the guides over the years and the rapport with the staff have formed a major part of my social world, and I am very happy about that. That's it.